The big question of this segment is, how do we decide what to believe? So what is the relationship between information and knowledge? How do we go from being presented with a claim to evaluating it and deciding whether or not to take that on as part of our knowledge? Throughout the Big History course, you're going to be presented with a lot of information. Information about the universe, its history and our place in it, from a variety of disciplines. But presumably you're not doing this course just because you want to be presented with information. You're doing the course because you want to learn about the universe and gain knowledge about the universe. Even our best scientific theories are subject to revision in the light of new evidence. So although what you're being presented with here is the best scientific knowledge we have now, it may turn out that some of it's false. It's very likely to turn out that it's at least incomplete. So as well as providing you with information through the course, we want to provide you with tools to help you deal with information effectively, to help you be selective and discerning about the kinds of things you believe. These questions are important for us because our society is one in which we're constantly bombarded with information from a variety of often conflicting sources. The media, the internet, books, other people. And we need to have a way of selecting what things to believe and what things not to believe. So two questions we need to ask are, firstly, when presented with a particular claim, how do we decide whether or not we should believe it? And secondly, more generally, how do we maximise our chances of coming to have knowledge and of believing those things that will give us the best understanding of the way things are? So there are two questions here. One of them is about particular cases. What kinds of criteria should I apply? What questions should I ask when I'm deciding whether or not to accept a particular claim? But also, how can I develop the skills to become a better believer? How can I develop dispositions that will allow me to gain knowledge about the world effectively? In philosophy, questions about belief and knowledge are the domain of epistemology, or the theory of knowledge. Philosophical questions about what counts as knowledge are often dated back to Plato. And from Plato we take the idea that knowledge is justified true belief. And this question of justification, of what justifies a belief and what makes it reasonable to accept a certain belief, is one of the central questions in epistemology. One view of justification is that in order for a belief to be justified, we need to be certain about it. We should believe those things about which we can't be wrong, or things we couldn't doubt. The problem with this view is that many of the ordinary things we take ourselves to know about the world wouldn't pass that very strict test. We don't often get complete certainty about the world. So requiring certainty for justification can lead to an unhelpful kind of scepticism that isn't going to help us understand the world any better. Another view of justification in philosophy is the idea that we're justified in believing something if it coheres with the rest of our beliefs, if it fits in with the other things we believe. And this makes sense of a lot of our ordinary practice in forming beliefs. We make observations and we interpret those in a way that makes sense given what we already know and given what we already believe. But although it makes sense as an answer to the descriptive question of how we do form beliefs, our question here is the normative one of how we should form beliefs. And the problem with thinking of justification just in terms of coherence or consistency with our other beliefs is that it seems that if we've already got false beliefs, this would justify us in accepting more false beliefs to go with them. So this can lead to an unhelpful kind of relativism, where what might be justified for me to believe about the world is entirely different from what might be justified for you. And if we see our project as trying to gain knowledge about the world, this doesn't seem to be the right way to go. So what we really need to do is navigate between those two extremes of relativism on the one hand, where we accept way too many things, and scepticism on the other hand, where we don't accept enough. Scientists don't just go from nothing to a complete and perfect theory. Scientific theories develop, and through testing and the incorporation of new evidence and new discoveries, they become better and better theories. So although the theories we have now are fallible, they're still worth engaging with because it's through working with theories that we can come to develop a better understanding of the world. So how are we going to work out what things we should believe about the world and what we're justified in believing? An idea that may help us here is the idea of epistemic virtues or intellectual virtues. And these are the belief-forming practices that help us to develop beliefs that are most likely to be true and most likely to give us information about the world. In this course, we'll be using a set of epistemic tools known as claim testers, which will encourage you to develop and reflect on these epistemic virtues. The 4 claim testers we'll be using are intuition, authority, logic, and evidence. And throughout the course, we'll be asking you to use these 4 claim testers and reflect on your use of them in particular cases. Our first claim tester is intuition. When you're presented with a new claim, some claims might seem right to you, some claims might just seem wrong. And when we make that kind of judgment, it's a judgment based on intuition. Intuition is also thought of as a gut feeling. It may not seem to be based on any particular kind of evidence, but it doesn't just come from nowhere. We've all got a lot of background beliefs, a lot of past experience, and those things will bring to bear implicitly when we're making a judgment based on intuition. Intuition's not always going to give you the right answers. If someone presents the claim that the universe came into existence 13.7 billion years ago as an atom-sized bundle of energy, that's not going to sound very plausible intuitively. But combined with other evidence, intuition can function as a first filter, which helps us to decide which claims are worth investigating and which claims are worth ignoring. Our second claim tester is authority. A lot of the things we come to know we learn from others, and we come to believe things on the authority of someone whose judgment and expertise we trust. Big history is a case in point. The sheer number of different disciplines that have come together in the Big History project would make it inefficient, to say the least, to try and master all those disciplines yourself, to become a physicist and a geographer and a historian. Instead, we rely on the expertise of people who have got the background knowledge and who do understand these disciplines to give us the information to allow us to understand the universe. One of the key ideas in Big History is the idea of collective learning, that one of the things that has allowed humans to flourish as they have and to develop in such a remarkably short period of time is that we're able to share information and share the burden of collecting that information. When we are learning from other people, we need to make sure we're learning from people who are authorities, who do actually have the information we're trying to gain from them. So when we reflect on our use of authority as a claim tester, we're reflecting partly on the reliability and credibility of our sources. Like intuition, this claim tester doesn't work on its own. Authorities can be wrong. But knowing that someone does have the experience and the expertise in a particular area at least makes them someone worth listening to. Our third claim tester is logic. One of the other things that's allowed human knowledge to develop as it has is our ability to reason, our ability to infer one claim from another and to synthesize information to generate new claims. This means applying logic to assess claims we're considering. Very often we believe a claim because it follows from others, and often we hear claims that can't all be true. So applying logic means sifting through those claims to work out which ones make the most coherent story. Like intuition and authority, logic works along with the other claim testers. Logic can tell you what follows from a certain set of claims you already believe, but it doesn't tell you if those initial beliefs are true. So we need to apply logic in conjunction with our other claim testers. Our final claim tester is evidence. And this is the most fundamental and all-encompassing claim tester. We test our claims against the evidence we have available. Evidence that's not applied is just information. It's what we do with a piece of information that turns it into evidence and allows us to gain knowledge. The sense in which this is all-encompassing is that our other claim testers are using forms of evidence as well. So for example, when we rely on an authority, we're using the fact that experts accept a certain claim as evidence that it's true. In other cases, evidence will depend on observations we might make or empirical studies we do. So the nature of evidence is going to vary depending on the question we're asking. But the claim tester asks us to think about what evidence we have available for a claim and reflect on the strength of the evidence available. Throughout the course, you'll be developing your ability to use all of these claim testers, and that will help you use information as evidence to gain knowledge about the world. But more generally, the claim testers provide a toolkit for life. We need to recognise that our beliefs are fallible, but by reflecting on the justifications we have for our beliefs and being prepared to modify them as a result of those reflections, we can see which beliefs do pass the tests of intuition, authority, logic and evidence, and those might be the ones that give us the best chance of gaining knowledge about the world. Using these claim testers provides us with the best chance of advancing our collective understanding of the way things actually are.